Hello guys and welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm gonna make a demo video of everything you need to know about Tone Studio for the Boss Katana Mkii. So as you guys probably have noticed here, the design is very different from Boss Katana Mkii Tone Studio, and for me this is better than the previous one. At least here down you don't have those typical knobs, shaped knobs of a typical amp, but I think it's better, more well laid out, and it has much more to offer. Okay, you still have these knobs here. Okay, so let me put this on the clean channel and everything kind of at noon. Still have these knobs similar to the physical knobs on the Katana, and but down there here everything's changed. So first thing first, you have more effects, that's for sure, and you can have more effects at the same time engaged, and that's a bonus and a plus. For me at least, I think it's much better. Then second thing is variation mode. Okay, so you have, for each amp you have a variation mode, which makes the Katana 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 amps like 10 amps in one amp. And the variation mode for each channel acts a little bit different. You can check out on my other videos where I use variation mode on or off, or I can make a new video with those settings. Probably there's a bunch of YouTube videos already with that subject, but it does change. For example, on the crunch and the lead channel, when you engage variation mode, sometimes you have some boost on the low end, sometimes you have some boosts on the high end. It really depends, and even on mids. It really depends on the channel. So we'll start here with effects. So you have the same thing you have going on with Katana Mkii, right? Where you can choose the effects you want from here. I rarely use this tab here unless I want to engage my delay and reverb in one knob. Okay, and that was very important on the Katana Mkii because you were limited to the amount of effects you could use at the same time. In this case, I really rarely use it because I can engage delay and other effects at the same time, but it's also a plus. And then the chain tab, very similar also to the Katana Mkii. You get all these chains here, 4 chains. I usually use this one, really depends, because I like the modulation effects. If I use a compressor, I like to use it in the front, and that's pretty much it. Although you cannot drag and drop, this would be the ideal scenario if you could drag and drop these blocks here like you do on the GT1000, but that's very different. Okay, it's a very different processor type and much more expensive, but this is very similar to the Boss Tone Studio for the GT1000. In fact, the rest of the parts anyway. Then you have the booster section, and by the way, right now you have no knobs here, just sort of a sliders with all the distortions you have, probably more than you need, but there's a bunch of distortions here. Okay, I think there's a few new effects to the Mkii as well. Then you have modulation with all your effects as well. Drop down menu, very cool. I like this way, I like better this approach. Okay, then you have effects. Once again, a lot of effects here. They're kind of cloned effects from tab to tab, but then you can use them, I don't know, they call it modulation and effects, although in effects there's chord and flanger, which are essentially modulation effects as well, but it's very obvious. And this is the way I'm going to show you the way I like to use it anyways. Then you have delay with all your delays here. Okay, delay 2 you can choose as well. Now you have stereo effects like you have now on the Katana Mkii, which is really cool if you want pan delay and stuff like that. Then there's the reverb section, all right, with all the reverbs you have down here. Then you have pedal effects, because you can use this for the pedal wah, pedal bend, or the wah 95E, all right? And you can choose different kind of wah pedals. One of those I like most is the fat wah, all right? So you can engage this or disengage like any other effects. Then you have the EQ section, which is very different to the Boss Mkii because you have 2 pages, right? And they decided to put everything in one page. For me, makes more sense because you can cut here without going to the second page. All right. Usually I leave this around 5 or 6:30 here. Then the noise suppressor, send and return, which is already known as well in the other amp, and the assignment tab. Okay. Now here in preferences, if you go to system, there's a couple different things here. You can choose line out air fill as well. Power amp settings. Okay, this is the part. This is the part that the Katana MK2 offers something different and something special for me. If you want to connect a digital device like GT1000 or an Helix or whatever, you can choose here the behavior of your EQ. So you have like high pass filter and low pass filter just for dedicated just for that input on the back of the Katana, which is really cool. Usually I don't mess around with this because I'll do that job on the unit itself, being the Helix or GT1000. Then you have global EQ, a little bit different as well. You can use output or input. And you have a couple of options here. Right now I have my global EQ completely flat. As usual, I don't use a global EQ ever, at least here on the Katana MK2. I do use it sometimes on the GT1000, but not on the Katana. I prefer to cut on the Katana because I think if I'm going to play acoustic guitar or stuff like that, and I want to not kind of FR because this is not FR range system, but if you try to mess around here with stuff you think is going to make your amp sound better, I will advise you to do that in the EQs that come inside Tone Studio, not necessarily in the global EQ, because it will affect every patch, every single patch that you have, not as the other EQs that just affect the patch that you have and save. All right. So I leave this as it is. It comes from factory. I haven't touched it. You can use it like this or GE10. So it's pretty much off. USB settings, different from the MK1, but in the end, this little knob here supposedly affects the out level of USB, because everybody knows that the USB from the Katana, the signal is very low. So what I actually do, but it's low, but it depends. If you're using lots of distortion and the amp is louder than low volumes at bedroom, there's a pretty good signal to it when you're recording. That's what I think it's kind of hard. Now if you use like a clean channel and it's kind of low volume wise on your room, the signal is very weak. So it does affect, in fact, the output level of the USB, but not that much. So the best scenario is to, in fact, put your amp louder, okay? And it's proven in some ways that the master and the volume control have no effect on the USB. But it's not totally right, because if you put it louder, the signal will be louder as well on your DAW, okay? But if you can't put your amp if you can't put your amp loud on your room because of neighborhood and stuff like that, you can always use in real time some gain plugin in your DAW, whatever gain plugin comes with your DAW. Set it to like plus 10 dBs, which is a lot, but it's handy if you're using low level bedroom, and it will give you the bump that you need. Bear in mind that it's not recording with that plugin, okay? It's not in real time. You're listening to real time, it's not recording in real time, so you have to leave it there after the fact, or use another plugin that you want to. Then there's the MIDI settings here. I haven't touched this because there's no MIDI, just on the head, right? Manual download page, device setting, version, okay? And you can all data backup as well. So the way I like to use this, also the librarian, the librarian is very well designed for me this time. Much faster. A relationship to the relation to the MK1. It's a fact. This is much faster when you're working with librarian, loading your patches, and you can have a bunch of them and still be fast. And the mouse works great here. Scrolls as it is, not as on MK1. It's a little bit not so fluid. And then when you export or import, I really like this. When you export, you can go here and you can see all your patches, all the live sets that you have, and I think it's a little bit more intuitive than the Mkii one. Okay, so this is it. These are a few of my tones that I've worked on, and then I'll work on some more. Then you access Tone Central for the sounds that you want, but once again, you can be a little bit full into these sounds, and I have been, because there's a certain sounds here you can choose from that will not necessarily sound the way they're recorded, because I believe that these sounds were post-processed, and it's natural. It's only natural, okay, because you can do this if you know what you're doing, and then post-processing as well. Let's check out one of those. Even harder to listen to the guitar if it's in a mix. They're here if you want to download them. I never use one single sound from here because I prefer to create mine, and I believe these sounds could be a little bit better. Okay, that's pretty much it. Going back to the editor mode. So on the effects, I rarely change anything here. On the chain, normally I use this chain here, chain number 2. I might change the chain if I want some patch that has different things in different places, like chain number 3, we have the effects here. Let's go with chain number 3 for now. Normally I have my booster. It really depends on the booster, but I'll engage this booster distortion plus right now. I'm not playing guitar, so this won't make any sense if you guys try to copy this, because I don't know how it sounds. But anyway, let's think I'm on the lead channel. I'm using variation mode, and then I have my EQ. Then I have modulation, and here in modulation, if you can see here on chain, the modulation, it's before the amp. So in modulation, I'm going to use not a flanger, not any of this stuff, but probably a graphic EQ where I can further shape my tone here the way I want it to be. Okay, it's in front. Not just modulation, but as well as effect. So I can go into modulation and change. Okay, if I want to use 2 EQs or 3 EQs, you can use it pretty much everything. Okay, they're both in front of the amp because it's chain, it's here, mod and effects. So going to modulation again, I might use like a compressor, okay, in front of the amp for clean tones, and not just for clean tones, but other tones as well. What I might use if I want some effects in front of the amp, like chorus, to give that a little bit of ambient to the tone, ambience, and it's in front of the amp, not in the loop effect, so you can get that Jack Wild thing if you're really into that kind of tone. Other than that, just compressor, limiter, or auto wah, and I think pretty much, I don't know, probably one of these octave things here as well, because they sound cool. So let's go for the chorus. It would be very, very low if I was using something like this, like around 1 or 2. You can always double click or click here. And on effects, I have my EQ, shape the way it is, doesn't matter really. Delay, I like to use 2 delays usually, okay, when I'm recording. If I want some ping pong delay, I'll go here into pan delay and I'll choose my tempo, okay. Then you have delay 2, which is not engaged, and if I engage it, you can't hear anything because you have to go here into the effects tab. This is where I'm going right now, and use delay plus reverb, okay. And right now this control will engage delay 2, effect level, and feedback, and it also controls the effect level of the reverb. So I usually use room reverb, but for other tones I can use a big plate reverb like this. These will be my settings, not so loud here, okay. And on delay 2, 600 milliseconds, so on delay 1, second delay, I mean, I'll be around 400, okay. And I cut this right like this. I'm not playing guitar right now, so I really don't know how loud it is, okay. So pretty much all the effects are engaged right now. So we have reverb, delay, then you have a graphic EQ, a modulation chorus, you have a booster, and a second delay, okay, where it's engaged here from the effects tab. Then I have here the cab resonance. Usually I don't go, it's very rare to use, for me to use modern or deep. Not that I sound bad, but usually my patches sound better on the vintage mode. I don't know why. If this tries to recreate any kind of vintage speakers, like a Marshall with vintage 30 speakers, we'll never know. And this is pretty much how I use it. And then it's very simple, as you guys know, to write. You just click write, choose one of the banks. You have 8 in the case of the Katana Mkii, 100 watts, and that's it. Pretty much it. One cool thing I like to do on modulation instead of using chorals, just a little bit of a tip. I like to go here into pitch shifter, use 1 or 2 voices, really depend. I can use 2 voices, and I put this medium, but I put this like this. Let me just go here, you double click with your mouse. So it's in unison, which means it will act like a chorus, and it's a very cool chorus if you use it like this. So this is one of the tips. There are many tips for this kind of application. This is one of my tips. You can use just 1 voice, and it sounds really cool. So basically, this is how Tone Studio Mkii differs from the Mkii. Essentially, the part where the knobs are sliders and more effects at the same time, the variation mode, which is very important. Also, you have like we said here, the power amp in settings that are very cool using other external effect units. And basically, I think in the end, I think it's more pleasant to look at. This is my opinion. Of course, you may differ from my opinion. And I think it's better shaped, and overall people ask me if the Katana Mkii sounds better than the Katana Mkii. And I've seen a lot of forums guys talking that sound just the same, okay? The core sound, the fundamental sound, if you don't use variation mode, of course, it's basically the same, okay? But as soon as I start adding effects, and this is where I'm going to get to, effects like EQ and other things, the amp, for me at least, sounds a little bit different with my guitars, for better. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit that bell notification to stay updated for new content. And if you guys have some suggestions for videos to make with the Mkii right now, Tone Studio, just let me know and I'll make those videos. So once again, thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.